the Watergate Building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now here are Hotline editors Amy Walter and John Mercurio.
Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm John Mercurio.
And I'm Quinn McCord. First up today, Jenna Bush is going on ABC's 2020 to talk about life, love, and being, well, Jenna Bush. Let's take a sneak peek.
Friday, the first daughter, Jenna Bush, spirited.
I don't come from an administration. I'm his daughter, you know?
A committed teacher.
A stereotype is when you label somebody.
Compassionate. And just a young girl excited about getting married.
Your mom said he proposed in Acadia National Park.
Thanks, Mom.
Now, for the first time, Jenna Bush takes us into life in and out of the White House and talks about her new book, Honest Story.
Interesting. So, Quinn, do you expect that Jenna has any hope to help her father's low ratings with this interview and this book that she's putting out?
Oh, she probably can't hurt.
She certainly can't.
The only way she can help...
Well, she could.
Maybe. I just hope she's improved her public speaking skills since the 2004 convention. That really was one of the most painful moments I've ever seen when the two Bush twins got up and spoke with almost seemed off the cuff.
Yeah.
It seemed really
They were like making fun of their grandmother. It was bad. I think she has. Look, she's matured. You know, she's graduated from college. She's written this book. She spent some time growing up, and I think actually the book is on a relatively serious topic. It's about a young girl with HIV/AIDS. And so, sure, look, can she hurt her father with this book and with this rollout? Probably not. This is a nice way, I think, for her to reintroduce herself to the world. Anything
that humanizes the Bush family would probably be of help to them at this point.
All right, moving on to election 2008. NRSC Chairman John Ensign is disappointed with his Republican colleagues for not giving more to his efforts, to the party's efforts to retake the Senate in 2008. All right, Quinn, how is this going to play out? We're at the end of the fundraising cycle. Ensign's frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, it's been sort of one bad month, one bad quarter after another for the NRSC. And in fairness, the RNC and the NRCC, all the Republican committees, the donors are just dispirited. Their colleagues aren't giving money. It's not in good shape. I will say the Republicans got one piece of good news this week when Mike Johanns announced for Republican Senate. Finally, they have a recruiting victory they can point to. Admittedly, it's in a state they already have control of and they wouldn't want to lose it.
Hal Dobb dropping out of the race, making it more likely that the party's going to be able to unite behind Johanns.
Possibly. And more importantly, I think it's possible Bob Kerrey might be scared out. Now, he's impossible to predict. I'm not predicting that here. But whenever Bob Kerrey talks, he gives more reasons why he wouldn't want to run about his family than reasons why he would want to run. But that may mean nothing. Republicans can also point at the fact that there are still no challengers at the end of this third quarter to Liddy Dole.
Pete Domenici,
not really.
Right.
But, you know, Democrats have still won the month with Mark Warner and Jeanne Shaheen.
Potentially Bob Kerrey next week.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty darn uphill in many of these races. And John Ensign admitted as much. He said, if a good night is if we don't lose any net seats next year. So.
Yeah, I think a good night for them is if they only lose 1 or 2 seats, frankly, at this point. I think more likely, more realistically, because there are some really uphill races for their candidates, for their incumbents.
Yeah, and really the only seat they're targeting right now, and they don't even have an announced candidate, is Louisiana. I mean, when you're only challenging one of the other party's seats, incumbents, open or incumbents, that doesn't leave you any margin for error. I mean, you've got to keep all your seats, and with 3 or 4 of them open, what can you do?
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week on Hotline TV.